Hello and welcome to the Ordering Formula Explained Part 2. My name is Nicole Holmes and I am a provider training coordinator for the Philadelphia Department of Public Health's immunization program. And for this training, we have just one objective, which is to make sure that you understand how to calculate the vaccine product order for an off-cycle order. Reconciliation review. Now, again, many of you are very familiar with this screen, so I'm not going to take too much time on here, but I do want to draw your attention to the boxes at the top that are outlined in red. We are starting from the left to the right. It's today's date, last reconciliation date, and last order date. Now, the most important of these three is today's date and last recon date. Today's date is, of course, today's date. And then the last reconciliation date is going to be the last time that you reconciled. And they're connected because it's the number of weeks since the last time you reconciled. And if you want to do the math really quickly and pause this video, you'll see that this is 5 weeks. And for the last order date, this is important, but it's not important to this actual process here. But do keep in mind that if you have to place an early order or you have an emergency, please reach out to our team and they will do what they can to accommodate. And as a reminder, you must complete your correct closed, or you must submit your correct complete and closed reconciliation every single month, even if you don't need to place an order. And that also includes your temperature logs. Now, by not submitting one may result in your site not getting your order processed. Now, again, remember we said it was 5 weeks. Here's an actual visual of that 5 weeks. So the order date was April 30th, which was a Wednesday. And then the 5-week difference is going to be June 4th. So you count the weeks by this way, from April 30th to May 7th is 1 week, and 2 weeks is May 14th, 3 weeks, May 21st, 4 weeks is May 28th, and then the 5th week is June 4th. Now, if you have more than 5 weeks, you'll have to do the math for that also. So all you'll do is just continue to add the weeks until you get to the day of the date or the date of the day that you're on. Now, as a reminder, you are required, and I know I just said this a couple seconds ago, but you are required to submit a reconciliation every single month. So you should really be doing this every 4 weeks. But we understand that things get really busy at your clinic, at your office. So here we have this option available. And again, we know that you are very familiar with this as well. So we're just going to kind of fly through this here. Aggregate administered is a number of doses administered since the last time you reconciled. Physical count is the number of doses that you have on hand that are physically in your unit. So we recommend that you go and do the calculations, do the math for your physical count before you start your recon. Inventory difference should be 0. Now, this column is only going to be 0 after you've input the numbers for your physical count and your aggregate administered. Once you've done those two columns, you should get 0 in the inventory difference column. This just shows that you did the correct math and that there is no discrepancy. Now, if you have a positive number in any of these line items, you have an issue with that math for that line item. So try to redo the math. If you can't figure it out, our team is here to help. So go ahead and email us at dphproviderhelp@phila.gov and someone will be happy to help you. We have the acceptable inventory difference column, and you should get a green check mark before closing the reconciliation. You all are familiar with this. If you get a red stop icon, that means something's wrong with that line item. You have to figure it out before you submit, because if you submit it and you have that red stop icon, our ordering team will kind of flag it and tell you, hey, we can't accept this. You have to do this all over. So just double, triple check, make sure that all of your line items have that green check mark. That way you don't have to redo the math. And then we have the expiring soon column. So you'll see here that there's a little red stop icon or red clock icon, excuse me. And that's just a visual alarm to let you know that these doses are set to expire soon. So we want to make sure that you prioritize administering those doses first and apply the FIFO method, which is first in, first out. Now we're going to get into identifying duplicate vaccine products. This shouldn't take too long because we did this in part one, so you should be pretty familiar with this. And here, again, we have Infenrix highlighted in the top two line items, and then we have Pediarix in the second two or third and fourth line items. And then we also have the expiring soon column highlighted here, and it's not significant to this process here, but I really just want you to get comfortable with seeing this sign, this symbol, and recognizing that it's time for you to prioritize those vaccines. Again, we have Gardasil that are duplicates. And again, we're not paying attention to the lot number, the expiration date, or the NDC for this particular process. We're just looking if we have any duplicates of the same vaccine product brand. So then we have Menquadfi, and then we have Bexsero, and then here we have MMR2, polio, IPV, IPOL, Rototec, and Beyfortus. And then rounding out our reconciliation, we have Tdap absorbed, which is Adacel, and then we have Varicella as Baravax. So now we're going to do the math for an off-cycle order. And here are some things that you should know. An off-cycle order is completed as soon as possible. And the off-cycle math is more complicated than the 4-week cycle order. I'm not going to lie to you. It is complicated, but I know that you can do it. We've broken it down in this PowerPoint, in this training for you to follow along with ease. It is 3 to 4 steps, and 3 steps if you don't have multiples of the same product brand, and 4 steps if you do have multiples of the same product brands. So we'll do the steps for the math. And of course, we're going to calculate the total number of doses needed by addition. Now, again, we're only adding if you have multiple product brands only. And this is going to be the total number of doses administered and the total number of doses on hand. Then step 2, we have division. And the equation for that is the number of doses administered divided by the number of weeks since the last reconciliation. Then we have step 3, which is multiplication. And the equation for that is the number of doses times 6 weeks, which equals X. Then we have subtraction, and that equation is X minus the number of doses on hand, which equals Y. And Y is the number of doses you need to order. Now, the reason why it's 6 for step 3 is because it'll cover your normal 4-week vaccine supply plus a 2-week vaccine supply cushion. Now, this is only true for off-cycle orders. It's not true for the recommended 4-week cycle order. Now, I know this looks crazy, but trust me, you can do it. And for those of you who are more comfortable with mathematical equations, go ahead and plug in these numbers and you should get the right thing. If you want to double check with a colleague, please do so. If you want to double check with our team, go ahead and send us an email, give us a phone call, and we can double check for you before you submit your order. So it's just we've broken down the steps and put it in an actual equation. So you'll do the brackets first, which of course the number of doses administered divided by the number of weeks since the last reconciliation. You'll take that number, multiply it by 6, and then you'll subtract that number. You'll take that number and subtract the number of doses on hand, and that number will give you the number of doses that you need to order. But don't fret, we're going to walk through the steps. And again, we're going to start with our example. And in this example, we're going to use Menquadfi. And again, we want to look at today's date and the last recon date. So it's a 5-week difference. So keep that number 5 in mind because we're going to apply that a little bit later. Okay. And again, 5-week difference. Here's just a visual example of that. We started on April 30th. That was our last reconciliation date. And then today's date is June 4th. And if you count the weeks, it is 5 weeks. Okay. Doing the math, and we're going to start with addition. calculate the total number of doses needed by addition. So again, you're only doing this step if you have multiples of the same product brand. If you don't, then you can go ahead and skip this step and head to step number 2. And so the math is the total number of doses administered and the total number of doses on hand. Now, back to this screenshot here. We're going to look at the column of the number of doses administered and the column of number of doses on hand. Now, the reconciliation doesn't use those words. It uses aggregate administered, which is just another way of saying number of doses you have administered, and then physical count is another way of saying number of doses you have on hand. So we do the math here. Again, we're going to just take the numbers and we're going to ignore the negative symbol in front of the numbers. That symbol has absolutely nothing to do with this process at all. We're just looking at the numbers. So we take 10 plus 1 plus 14 equals 25. And then we'll do the same for the physical count column, which is 0 plus 19 plus 0 is 19. Because remember, anything plus 0 is that number. So the number of doses administered in this example is 25, and the number of doses on hand is 19. So we're going to do the math here. And we already did the math, so we're just going to kind of fly through this because we did this in the last slide there. So the number of doses administered is 25, and the number of doses on hand is 19. Next, we're going to divide. We're going to calculate the total number of doses needed by step 2, which is division. That equation is the number of doses administered divided by the number of doses or the number of weeks since the last reconciliation. So remember that 5 that I told you we're going to hold on to? It just appeared. So we have 25, which is the number of doses administered divided by the number of weeks. Now remember, this is a 5-week difference. So that's why we put the 5 in there. And of course, 5 divided by 25 divided by 5 is 5. Next, you want to calculate the total number of doses needed. And again, we're going to multiply. The equation for that is the number of doses times 6 weeks equals X. Now, remember that 5 that we just got, 25 divided by 5 equals 5. We're taking that 5 and plugging it in here. So 5 times 6 weeks equals X. And that's simple math. 5 times 6 is 30. And so that means X equals 30. And again, the reason why it's 6 is because it'll cover your normal 6-week vaccine supply plus a 2-week vaccine supply cushion. Now we're going to subtract. And the equation for subtraction is X minus the number of doses on hand equals Y. And Y is the number of doses you need to order. So let's plug everything in. 30 minus 19, because remember, 30 was the step 3, minus 19 equals 11. Y equals 11. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, letters and numbers just don't go together. But in this case, it does. And we're not going to be doing anything additional after step 4. You have that number there, which is 11. And here's a very important note. You can only order the number of doses needed. And you can only order more than the number of doses needed if the number is not a multiple of 5. So going back to this reminder, if the product is packaged in sets of 5 doses, order 1 box if you need 5 or less doses. If the product is packaged in sets of 10 doses, then you'll order 1 box if you need 10 or less doses. And here is the actual order. So this is where you apply all of that math. So you have the number, you need to order 11 doses for Menquadfie. Now here, as you can see, Menquadfie is packaged in 10 single-dose vials per package. So for this order, because you need 11, you can't order 11. You have to round up. So you would order 20 doses, which is 2 boxes. And then if you need to order more than that 20, then you have to justify why you need those doses. And then you want to write in the clinic comments box why you need more doses. If you don't, your order will be either rejected or edited. You can contact us if you feel like you need more additional help with the formula for ordering. So you can email our team at dphproviderhelp@phila.gov. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.